Today on the UOFanatic podcast, I will be discussing my whirlwind trip down to Universal Orlando from Mardi Gras. Don't you worry, my feet did not fail me. Laissez, bateau rouler.
Hello? This is Jonah Jameson. Roger, over. Is this thing on?
My name is Angus, and I am a UOFanatic. Welcome to the show. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review on your platform of choice by searching UOFanatic, also on YouTube. Follow along and continue the conversation at UOFanaticPod on Twitter as well. Before we dive deep into the trip report, we've got some news to discuss. So Comcast had an earnings call on January 29th, and Universal Parks were once again the MVP of Comcast's entire portfolio, and the latest earnings call makes it crystal clear the Parks division is carrying serious momentum and Epic Universe is the star of that show. Comcast highlighted that Universal Parks delivered strong double-digit revenue growth, driven by higher attendance across the entire portfolio, increased guest spending, and strong hotel demand in Orlando. Universal Parks aren't just doing well, they're outperforming almost every other Comcast segment. Epic Universe dominated the call. Comcast leadership emphasized that Epic is expanding the audience, it's not cannibalizing USF or IOA for attendance. Guest spending at Epic is significantly above expectations. They did also emphasize they're still scaling ride capacity and smoothing out operations due to the park's advanced tech. Their goal is to get to, at the end of 26, be able to have full occupancy. Comcast also specifically called out strong performance across all three Orlando parks, that their hotels are running at really high occupancy, and that obviously Epic Universe is lifting the entire resort's revenue profile. Analysts did press Comcast on the long-term Epic Universe strategy, future park investments, and how sustainable the growth is. Comcast's response was basically that they're all in on the theme parks. Epic Universe is just the beginning of a long-term expansion strategy. While other Comcast segments faced pressure, especially broadband, theme parks were the bright spot. Parks delivered some of the strongest growth in the entire company. They continue to be a stabilizing force in Comcast's earnings, and Universal Parks are becoming one of Comcast's most important businesses, and Epic Universe is accelerating that shift. In addition to the earnings call, we had an HHN speculation map drop on Friday the 13th. HorrorNightNightmare has just dropped their second speculation map for Halloween Horror Nights 35, and the community is already losing its mind. Let's break down what's on the map, what fans think it means, and which rumors are gaining the most traction. So very universally accepted rumor is there's a pincushion on the map, and everyone unanimously seems to think it's Hellraiser. And it's been rumored for several years, and seems like this might really be the year. So far, it's early, but this seems very specific. There's another symbol that looks like the Creel House grandfather clock, which means Stranger Things Season 5 Vecna-centric house, which would be a massive crowd puller. Now, there are some significant peoples in the rumor community who are saying it's not happening. So I guess take this with a grain of salt, but clearly somebody still thinks it is. There's a Jack in the Box icon, and everyone believes that to be Jack the Clown Returns. It is an anniversary year after all, and we're all buzzing that it's a potential Jack versus Oddfellow showdown. And again, being an anniversary year, and also worth a note, the last night at El Artista last year, the Oddfellow symbol was in the house. There are some other IPs being theorized. Resident Evil is a name that keeps coming up. There is a burning book on the spec map as well now, and it is noted that there is a new movie coming out this summer, Evil Dead Burn. So that could have some potential. There is the Welcome to Derry, which honestly It's been getting a lot of talk, but it seems like it may have fallen off this map. So we'll keep our eyes and ears open on that one. Sinners is a huge, very loud rumor right now. It's been on both spec maps with I guess the cigarettes icon is at least what we're tying to Sinners. It was obviously a big hit last year. It received a lot of nominations for awards and etc. And while all the rumors of maybe an Aussie tribute house seem to be disappearing, we still may be getting a music house. And right now, all the rumblings seem to be Lady Gaga. I think that would be pretty interesting, to be honest. After what we had for the weekend, I wouldn't second doubt it at all. One of my favorite things going around right now, because I loved the original house that I saw, was there's a rumor that there may be another HR Blood and Guts coming out. HR Blood and Guts is Universal's original take on a B horror show host, with things going absolutely crazy, like those kind of movies. So it was a lot of fun. They did holidays last time. I don't know if they would stay with that same thing or run in a different direction, but I will say it's pretty exciting if it's true. There is a paw print, and some people think that could be a reference to the cat lady of Crooked Lane, but I am also hearing some sort of zoo reference, and some people are pointing out that it's a dog print, not a cat print. I don't know. I'm just repeating here some of the things that we've heard. I don't know, to be honest. So there you have it. It's the first wave of HHN35 speculation. And honestly, it's already wild. Imagine Hellraiser, Stranger Things, and Jack the Clown. That would be enough to make it a pretty popular anniversary year. All right, let's get to the main topic. Sometime in January, the fear of missing out on another Mardi Gras season at Universal Orlando got the better of me. And thanks to the research I had done for episode 1 in regard to hotel costs for all of 2026, which, by the way, you should still give a listen if you haven't, unless you hate saving money, of course. Anyway, I had found an early gap the first weekdays of the event and a great price on Aventura, and I pulled the trigger and went for a whirlwind trip, just 2 nights, with the hopes to get all things Mardi Gras done. I flew out early on Tuesday the 10th, 7 a.m. flight, and was returning on Thursday the 12th, flying out at 3:30 p.m. from MCO back home to Boston. I flew JetBlue, and it was as good as it can be, other than learning that JetBlue changed their free drink policy from Mosaic members to just one from the previous 3. I got over that pretty quick, but I hate losing benefits. I landed in Orlando just about 10 a.m., and since I only had a carry-on bag, I was getting into my Uber in no time at all. Made a stop at Walgreens on South Kirkland Street to pick up some beer for the room, and before 11 a.m., I found myself checking in at Aventura. I tend to have a lot of luck when it comes to having my room ready, but not this time. It was fine. I had planned for such a scenario as well and had some park clothes on top in my carry-on and made a quick change. And off I went down the sprawling garden walk towards City Walk. Before moving on, I want to talk a little bit about Aventura. This hotel seems to be dismissed by a lot of the community as being bland and out of the way. With Cabana being so amazing, why would anyone consider staying at Aventura? And I just have to tell you, I couldn't disagree more. There are valid reasons for choosing any of the on-site resorts, and without getting too sidetracked, I just want to point out that Aventura is fantastic for solo travelers or adult couples that don't have children. It is centrally located to the other resorts and their amenities and has immediate access to one of the 2 best resort bars on property and a short walk access to the other. I stayed on the 10th floor at the furthest room possible, and I have a video that shows how quick it is to get to the elevator and then out to the lobby. The video is about 16 seconds. Imagine a long night at HHN and you just wish you were back at your room. You take the Sapphire water taxi. You walk 2 minutes across the parking lot to Aventura, and 1 minute later, you're in your bed. Absolutely amazing. Had a great, comfortable experience there, but I'll save my in-depth coverage for Aventura for its own episode someday. Overall, Busing, when I chose not to walk, was really good when comparing it to how long to wait then to get to the destination. But I will say that I was sad to see a consistent bus sharing experience for Aventura and Cabana Bay resorts. This is definitely something they seem to be sticking with. And having said that, it felt like a B plus experience as opposed to an A with the dedicated bus lines. I can't really say it changed the experience very much other than waiting on another stop. When you first arrive at City Walk, you can already feel the impact Mardi Gras has on the entire resort. You can see it in the banners and the lampposts and even in the fan base. There's just so much purple, gold, and green, the colors that you associate with Mardi Gras. But of course, it's at Universal Studios where this feeling is multiplicative. The giant medallion in the main studio arch should be a pretty strong clue that you aren't in Kansas anymore. Once inside, as you look down the street towards New York, you will likely see Mardi Gras performance most times of the day and often a little jazz band as well. This sets the stage immediately. You can't help but feel the buzz, and it just lifts your spirits in a way I can't describe. You need to experience it for yourself. It's still pretty early on, so when talking about the tribute store, I'm going to try to not give heavy spoilers. I'm going to give plenty of details on the story, but not what you'll see. So I'm going to keep it simple. It's a really solid themed store, one of the best I can remember. It's themed as Tauntaun's Roadhouse, a bayou dive bar owned by the UO Mardi Gras icon Baron Tauntaun himself. If you aren't familiar with this character, it is said he is inspired by Baron Samedi, a top hat wearing Loa from Haitian Vodou, not to be confused with voodoo. Vodou recognizes one ultimate creator, Bondi, which means good God. Bondi is distant and not involved in daily life. So Loa are spirits. Because Bondi is remote, humans interact with the world through the Loa, the spirits who guide, protect, teach, and intervene in daily life. Tauntaun's Roadhouse isn't just a themed shop, it's a full narrative experience that unfolds as you move through each room. The story blends Louisiana Roadhouse grit, swamp magic, and the eerie charm of Tauntaun himself. As you're approaching from Hollywood Boulevard, you see a roadhouse at the edge of the bayou. You begin outside a weathered, neon-lit Louisiana roadhouse, and the vibe is it's a backroads bar. It's a little too quiet and a little too alive. Posters and signage hint that Tauntaun is the owner, but also something more, a supernatural host who invites travelers in for a good time if they dare. This sets the tone as you're entering his world, not just a bar. Welcome to Tauntaun's place. Inside, you see a dim, cluttered dive bar filled with rusty neon, voodoo-inspired decor, trinkets, charms, and offerings, portraits, and posters featuring Tauntaun. This room establishes Tauntaun as the local legend, part bartender, part trickster spirit, and part swamp king. You get the sense he's watching even if you don't see him yet. Almost every bottle and item in the bar is an Easter egg. Read the bottles if you enjoy the lore of Universal Orlando, and you'll find things that represent past attractions and even characters from previous Mardi Gras, Horror Nights. There's a lot here. Take your time if you can. You exit the bar into a narrow, eerie alley behind the roadhouse. This is where the story shifts from fun dive bar to supernatural bayou realm. There are strange symbols glowing on the walls. Shadows seem to move. The environment feels half real, half enchanted. This alley represents the threshold between the human world and Tauntaun's domain. You're no longer just visiting a bar, you're slipping into the swamp magic he controls. The next room reveals Tauntaun's true nature. Shells of mystical objects, mask bones, charms, ritual items, murals and props showing Tauntaun as an undead trickster. References to Baron Samedi style aesthetics. This is where the lore becomes explicit. Tauntaun isn't just a bartender. He's a Loa-inspired spirit who presides over the spooky side of Mardi Gras. The environment feels playful but dangerous, like he's inviting you deeper into his world just to see how far you'll go. And then finally, you have a full figure or shrine-like display of Tauntaun, his skeletal face, top hat, and glowing eyes. Offerings, candles, and swamp magic ambiance. You finally meet this spirit who's been teasing you through the entire store. Tauntaun is the patron spirit of Mardi Gras mischief, and you've just walked through his realm. You exit back into the park, leaving his world behind, but not entirely. Mardi Gras merchandise is always a big hit. Something about the exclusive items representing just that single year. It just brings out the collector in everyone. I managed to keep it simple, but I had to get the Mardi Gras flannel shirt. A couple years ago at the HHN, I missed out the heavy metal inspired flannel and have been angry with myself ever since. There was just no way I was going to let this one slip away. All right, let's talk about some food meals, food booths, and of course, the best beer cart ever. Best beer carts are best. My favorite beer cart at Islands of Adventure is the fruit stand. It's the first thing I did when I got to the parks. It's the closest beer cart I am aware of in any of the parks in the area. It's become a tradition. I love it and look forward to doing it whenever possible. All right, let's talk about the food booths for specifically for Mardi Gras. But first, I just want you to know that while I'm not a particularly picky eater, one thing I don't enjoy is the typical that Cajun spice. It's not that it's too hot for me. I just don't like the flavor. So that just means off the bat, I would skip a lot of items in a Cajun food festival, as you can understand. So while I encourage you to try these out, I want to recognize I'm in the minority on that front. So there's not going to be a lot of items here that I indulged in. So at the Brazil booth, I did have the pau de queijo, which totally just butchered that name, I'm sure. But for $6.99, it's the freshly baked warm Brazilian cheese bread bites. And let me tell you, don't. Just don't, please don't. These were the worst, driest things I've ever eaten. I feel like I'm still spitting sawdust right now thinking about it. I took one bite and I'm not exaggerating. I threw them away. It was absolutely terrible. So we'll get that out of the way. At the Greece booth, I had this spanakopita for $7.99, and that is a savory Greek pastry filled with spinach and feta cheese, wrapped in crispy layers of phyllo dough. I love this. My son has a friend who lives in Greece, and sometimes he visits him, and this is something he introduced me to as a result. I can't tell you if it was authentic, but I can tell you it was delicious. And as far as I could tell, without being an expert, it did seem authentic. I would definitely recommend it. It was really delicious. At the Taste of the Quarter booth, you can get beignets, $7.99, including three of them, and then traditional New Orleans pillowy pastry bites, fried and dredged in a powdered sugar. Over the years, I've had a lot of theme park beignets, and these were definitely superior. I would definitely get these again, but be aware you will look like a Coke addict after eating these. There is powdered sugar all over you, and there's just no way you can avoid it. At this booth, I also had the King Cake Espresso Martini for $18. It's absolutely delicious. New Amsterdam vodka, J.F. Hayden's espresso liquor, king cake syrup, and brewed coffee. I definitely enjoyed this a lot. Was it overpriced? Absolutely. Would I overspend again on it? Yes. At the Puerto Rico booth, there's a Pinchos de Lecon for $12.99. It was a char-grilled pork shoulder skewer with a guava barbecue sauce and pan sabao. Sorry about that, everyone. These are excellent, and you can smell them through New York area because they're being smoked, and I would definitely recommend these were really good. At the Chili Patagonia booth, I had the Terremoto, which is a beverage, cost $15. It was Veramonte Sauvignon Blanc, house-made pineapple sorbet, and grenadine. This was really delicious, and basically, it was dessert in a beverage form. This was a repeat item for me. On my last day, I got it again when I only had a couple of hours, and I actually searched it out, so I guess that's a strong recommendation, right? Okay, so that was it for the boost that I had experienced. Like I said, since I avoid Cajun spice, that eliminated a lot of moves off the bat, and then to be honest, just I wasn't super interested in some of the other ones. But I do want to talk about the Mardi Gras gift cards. So Universal's Mardi Gras gift cards are actually like a special food and beverage card deal that Universal brings out during this event, and it's one of the best hacks for saving money in the parks that you can have. Here's the deal in a nutshell. Universal sells these food and beverage cards where you pay less than the value that you get. So if you pay $65, you get $75 in value, and that's available to anyone. And that's not a great deal, right? I mean, it's fine. Free $10 is free $10. But here's if you have an annual pass, if you pay $120, you get 150 in value. And by the way, they never expire and they work at HHN, right? So I personally just bought 3 of these, not even for this festival, just to bring them home. It's like I'm already have $450 paid for in HHN food and I only paid $360 for. So, like I said, they don't actually expire. You can use them in the parks anytime. So it's simple. You're getting free money towards universal food, and because the cards never expire, you know, it's just a good way to save. Let's talk about the Today Cafe. I put my money where my mouth was, and just as I mentioned last episode, that this is a frequent stop for me at lunch. I went just about noon, by the way, and there was no line, and I had my choice of where to sit. I had the Carnegie, which is the pastrami sandwich, and it was as amazing as ever. So it's just so much value and great quality. It's not too heavy, and it's just perfect for a theme park day lunch. I did eat at Twosome on I forget which evening, if it was the first one or the second one, but sorry. So it was only last week, and I'm already struggling, right? But I got the fresh country, which is 16.95, and it's challah brioche stuffed with Gruyere's cheese, smoky ham, sunny side up egg, bechamel sauce, lyonnaise potatoes, and this is just so filling. I think I only managed to knock down half of it, but it was still really good. It was very hearty, very filling. I had this, I washed it down with the chocolate stout, which I feel is a must do every trip. I don't always eat at Tucson's every trip, but I try to always stop and get the chocolate stout. Anyway, I felt like a little bit wasteful because I only ate half, but boy, it filled me up. It did the job for 16.95. I would get this again. I would split it with someone if anyone ever offered, you know? That's how heavy it was, but anyway. And then, last but not least, I'll just mention that at MCO, I ate at Wine Bar George, and no, it's not at Universal Orlando, but many of us fanatics are departing from MCO, so I thought it's worth mentioning. While I hate Terminal C with a passion, I do enjoy Wine Bar George. Something about wine on tap I find intriguing, but also they have a 4-cheese grilled cheese sandwich with sun-dried tomatoes that just tastes special. It comes with kettle chips, and honestly, I don't here's another case where I only usually eat half of it and get a box and eat the other half on the plane. It just works as a comfort food, getting you ready for air travel. If you are stuck in the hellhole that is Terminal C, I suggest you give it a try. All right, you can't talk about Mardi Gras at Universal Orlando and not focus on the parade. There are 2 ways to experience the parade, and I encourage both. The first way, the easy way, is just to watch it. The second way is to be in it. It might surprise you, but if you had only one day to experience the parade, I would actually encourage you to just be a spectator. It's that good of a parade. Reviewers consistently call the parade the highlight of Mardi Gras, and it's because they have these just amazing high energy performers. They have these really polished floats, tons of beads. It has a lot of authentic New Orleans roots blended with universal showmanship. It really feels like a nighttime spectacular. So let's talk about the floats. The star of the show is King Gator. In New Orleans, every parade has a king and queen chosen by the crew to preside over the celebration. The king is King Gator, and his float is massive, jewel-toned parade float topped with a giant grinning alligator wearing a crown. Its body is covered in bright purple, green, and gold scales with glowing eyes, oversized teeth, and ornate Mardi Gras detailing that makes it look both regal and playfully over the top. It's very New Orleans, and it's very universal. Alligators are one of the most recognizable symbols of Louisiana Bayou's Cajun and Creole culture, Gulf Coast wildlife. By making the gator the king, Universal ties the parade directly to the geography and spirit of Louisiana. That means bright, jewel toned colors, purple, green, and gold, oversized sculpted features, hand painted details. It looks exaggerated and iconic, exactly like a real New Orleans parade float. This is definitely the signature Universal Orlando Mardi Gras float, and it anchors the parade as the last float. Riverboat. I am riverboat crew for life. The riverboat float looks like a classic New Orleans paddle-wheeled steamboat brought to life with Universal's signature color and spectacle. It's layered with glowing lanterns, ornate rails, and a big stylized paddle wheel at the back, all painted in bright purple, green, and gold to match the Mardi Gras palette. It has the perfect mix of authentic riverboat charm and over-the-top parade energy. The King and Queen float is a bright, regal showpiece draped in classic Mardi Gras colors, again, purple, green, and gold, ornate crowns, flowing banners, and glittering trim. At the center, oversized sculpted thrones carry the parade's royal duo, surrounded by elegant flourishes, masks, and fleur-de-lis, details that give a whole float a grand, celebratory New Orleans feel. Fleur-de-lis means flower of the lily in French. It's a stylized lily symbol that represents French heritage, royalty, New Orleans culture, and Mardi Gras iconography. And last but not least is the crew float. The crew float is a vibrant, high-energy celebration of Mardi Gras tradition designed to look like a rolling party hosted by the parade's own crew. It's covered in bright purple, green, and gold decor with masked beads and festive banners, and usually features performers riding high above the crowd, tossing beads nonstop. The whole float feels like a moving slice of New Orleans street culture. It's loud, colorful, and full of that classic Mardi Gras spirit. I cannot be more serious when I tell you to see this parade and, if possible, be in this parade. Now, let me tell you how to participate in the parade. First and foremost, there are some requirements. All riders must be at least 48 inches in height and able to board the float and stand for the duration of the parade. You have to be 18 or older or accompanied by a legal guardian, and you have to be able to transfer to a Universal provided wheelchair. And now let's get into the details on the 2 ways this is possible. If you are a UOAP pass holder reservation, you can make a reservation. This option is free, assuming you're actually an annual pass holder. The pass does have to be active. You can't buy your annual pass ahead of time without using it and qualify. You'll need your active pass number in order to complete the registration. These reservations do go quick, so pay attention to social media and make sure you're following the official Universal Orlando accounts in order to find out when this registration offer starts. You'll want to get right in there and make it happen quickly. If for some reason you missed that as a pass holder, or if you are not an annual pass holder, they do have a ride and dine experience. The Mardi Gras Float Ride and Dine experience is Universal Orlando's premium way to guarantee a spot riding on one of the Mardi Gras parade floats. Guests enjoy a 3-course meal at a participating restaurant such as Cowfish, NBC, Sports and Grill, Lombard's, Confisco Grill, or Antojitos before heading backstage to join the parade. After dining, you're assigned to a float, given a stash of beads, and placed right into the action as you toss beads to the crowd while rolling through Universal Studios Florida's nighttime celebration. The package starts at $94.99 per person, requires same-day park admission. Spots are limited and must be booked at least 24 hours in advance. Pass holders do get a 15% discount, making it one of the most reliable and exciting ways to participate in the parade. So I want you to know I did manage to get a pass holder reservation. I was paying attention. They do go really quick. I was on the riverboat float. I had a great time. I've got some interesting video from this because I was wearing Oakley HSTs, so I could actually record while I was throwing. Hopefully I'll do something with that. I have to tell you, I can't stress enough that how much fun this parade is worth going to having a trip to Universal for. I'm telling you. And like I said, first you want to watch it, and then you want to be in it. It's just so much fun. All right, let's just talk about some of the other things I did. Since this is a trip report, I didn't want to go into deep dive inside all the attractions or anything, but rather just touch on what I did and if anything stood out, etc. Having a ride on Spider-Man was a lot of fun after doing the deep dive 2 episodes ago. I additionally took a lot of photos around Marvel's Superhero Island. If I get the opportunity, and don't forget, I'll probably update the show notes page to include the photos. Remind me sometime to tell you about Adam and the fun scavenger hunt you can have if you're looking for something different to do in Marvel Superhero Island. I really enjoyed seeing some of the street entertainment. I really recommend that if you have the time, you take the time to see these shows, standouts. I enjoyed this trip where the Blues Brothers, the Blues Brothers show at Universal Studios Florida is a lively street party performance set right on Delancey Street in the New York section of the park. Jake and Elle would roll in aboard the Bluesmobile, hop out, and launch into a high energy set of classic soul and blues hits, backed by Mabel, the waitress, and Jazz, the sax player. The whole thing feels spontaneous and interactive, with the performers dancing through the crowd, cracking jokes, and turning the street into a mini block party that captures the spirit of the original film while giving guests a fun musical break in the middle of the park. I read you the pitch, and here's what it means to me. This is a must do every trip for me. This is just an old school classic. It's part of this theme park's heritage. It embodies what Universal Studios means to me. It's bold, electric, and creative. Come for the talent, but stay for the tradition. The Beat Builders, high energy percussion crew who turn a construction scaffolding in the New York area of Universal Studios, Florida, into a full blown street show. Wearing hard hats and work gear, they use buckets, pipes, tools, and metal beams as instruments, building a fast rhythmic performance that feels part drumline, part comedy act. Their set is loud, playful, and interactive, drawing a crowd as they construct a musical number that transforms an ordinary worksite into a mini block party. In my previous life, I was such a stand for the Jammers at Epcot. It's a very similar style percussion performance. It was easy for me to transition to the Beat Builders, and it didn't hurt that my daughter was always drawn to the show whenever she could hear it in the park. We would stop whatever we were doing and go and enjoy that show. So it brings back a lot of good memories for me as well. Celestina Warback and the Banshees. This is in Diagon Alley. It's a lively jazz-infused performance featuring Molly Weasley's favorite singer brought to life on the Carket Market stage. Celestina belts out Wizarding World hits with big vocals, glittering costumes, and backup singers who add humor and flair, turning the area into a mini concert. The show blends soulful magic, playful audience interaction, and theatrical charm, making it one of the most character-driven entertainment moments in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. The simple answer why you should attend this is because of the talent of these young women. Absolutely stellar. There is no A or B team here. They are all A-plus performance. You add in the ambiance of Diagon Alley and a shot of fire whiskey just to the right of the stage, and I don't think I need to say any more. I did miss out on Born Stuntacular, which wasn't intentional. It was down for at least a good portion of my full second day. I enjoyed most of the attractions I would normally prioritize, like The Mummy, Transformers, E.T., Men in Black. I got a score of 647,150. It's not my best, but I feel like it's respectable. And I did save the best for last. On day 2, on the full day, I not only did I participate in the parade, it was so much fun, but when the parade was over, I went over to Islands of Adventure since it was open for a couple additional hours. And I went right over there using my premium AP Express Pass after for benefit. I went on Velocicoaster at dusk in the back row with nobody next to me. I can call that checkmate. Except I made it even better by then walking over to Hagrid's and getting a night ride there as well. Close to perfection, but then after all this was my one miss from the entire trip. I headed to the top of City Walk to enjoy the last thing on my list, the Dead Coconut Club, only to see it barricaded off. There was a private event. Womp womp. I wish they would just post it on their website when this is occurring. It's like the walk of shame when you head all the way up there just to be disappointed. Anyway, the vacation was still an A+, even with that miss. And now that I've been back a few days, I have to say I'm in such a great headspace. It really took the heavy load that you sometimes feel in February in living in New England. Our winters are tough. Our days are short, and this quick 2-night trip had amazing healing powers. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the UOFanatic podcast. So let me ask you, why aren't you going to Universal Orlando for Mardi Gras? Or if you are, when are you going? I'd love to know. Please comment on Twitter to UOFanaticPod or leave a comment to UOFanatic on YouTube. While we're on the topic, please like and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. I would also really appreciate it if you spread the word about the show or share an episode on social media. I really would appreciate your support. Speaking of support, If you'd like to support the show, please consider allowing me to assist you and book your Universal vacations. I am an authorized Universal Orlando Resort specialist with decades of experience at touring the Universal Orlando Resort. Remember, my services cost nothing to you. They're absolutely free. I am paid for by Universal Destinations. Find out more at UOFanatic.com, where you can fill out a short form on the right sidebar to let me know how to get in touch with you about your Universal Orlando vacation. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Guess that wraps things up. You guys did all right. But don't give up your day job. Say cheese. See you later.
Congratulations, you're heroes. I knew it all the time.